I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my empty, cold, dead hands. Down with the fickle king, away with this fantasy. You are the one I need. Death to the kingdom of me. Death to the kingdom of me. I should probably be frightened. This empire's all I know, but it always does more damage than good. I'm afraid it's gotta go. I know that I can't be trusted, 'cause I'm just a man. And if you hadn't given your life for me, a loser would be all that I am. You know they say just follow your heart. I'm afraid that's a load of trash. Your heart will take you down to deep, dark places where you feel like you'll never come back. So I'm coming out of the dark. This facade is... I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, I woke up feeling like it might be a good day to get it done. That's right. Oh, the stadium is...
What's going on, everybody? It is a special edition of Two Tone Talk podcast, the Two Tone Talk by God pod, talking about the Tennessee Titans. We're live every Monday and Friday to talk about the Titans when times are good and when times are, well, like they are now, not good. And tonight we have a special guest. It's a bonus episode, a special bonus episode with a guest from the Titan Upload Network. It is Titans Rossi. He has been kind enough to come on the channel before. I think it was back during the summer when we were in a much better mood about this team.
Right.
A lot more.
We had hope.
A lot more excitement back then. And now here we are. You're back on in December when things are not as good, but I appreciate you taking the time to come hang out with us tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, now we have hope. And it's like, or we did have hope back then, is what I meant to say.
Right.
We had hope back then. And can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Making sure.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, because it's showing my input not being there, but it's there, obviously.
You're here. Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, back then we had hope, right? Back in summer, we were all like, oh my gosh, we're getting L'Jarius Sneed, we're getting Calvin Ridley and Awuzie and all these guys, and we might actually be pretty good. Like we're talking playoffs.
We were so naive.
Will Levis,
We were so
if
naive.
If Will Levis can be just a decent quarterback, just a half decent quarterback,
And as it turns
we're
out,
talking playoffs, baby.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. It's been worse than I could have ever imagined. It literally, I posted this on the Two Tone Talk X account the other day. I said, could this season have possibly gone any worse? I mean, it's been about as bad as you could have ever thought. So let's just get right into it. I appreciate you taking the time, and everybody watching on YouTube, be sure to click the like button. Want to call out this super chat from Paul Wilson, who said, I'm a big Colts fan. What an interesting week to jump on here. I'm a big Colts fan. I'm a huge fan of both of you guys. And then he mentioned hopes and dreams, which is what I've always talked about when I talk about their quarterback, Anthony Richardson, because the media had a lot of hopes and dreams that he was going to be good. Let's talk about our own quarterback, though. We've got our own quarterback issues here in Nashville. Will Levis, okay? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but back when he was playing well, he started off the season horrible. Then he had a streak of games where he was better. And then the last couple of weeks, it's back to horrible again. But even when he was having one of those good weeks, you took to X and you said you were not sold on him as a long-term answer.
Right.
And boy, they came after you. They came after you for that.
Right.
How dare you even insinuate, that he's not. Well, now a couple of weeks later, he's been benched. He's done for the year, presumably, unless Mason Rudolph gets hurt or something. I mean, Will Levis is done, and it looks pretty darn likely that he's probably done with the Titans for good. What were you seeing from Will Levis, even when things were better with him? What were you seeing from him that still made you say, I don't see it?
I mean, yes, he played well then, he played well for those few games, but there were just still things that would go on throughout the game. And look, I give a lot of that to Locked On Titan, to Tyler, because I would watch all his breakdowns on his show, Tic Tac Titans. And, I wasn't just watching like the good plays. I was watching all the bad plays that he was going through as well.
Yeah.
And I just never really saw it with Levis. Like, I mean, even when the only time that I like really, really saw it, that I thought I saw it, was last season when the Atlanta game. We were like, oh man, like this dude could be something, And then the Steelers game where we're in Pittsburgh, he leads them back, and I'm like, dude, this guy might have something. But as time has gone on since then, he's regressed greatly. Yeah. He's still making the same mistakes over and over again. And a lot of people want to say, oh, well, look at Josh Allen in his rookie career. Look at Troy Aikman, some guy, Troy Aikman's first 11 games. And I said, well, first of all, Will Levis has played 20 games. Like, what are we talking about? He's not a rookie. People say he's a rookie. He's not a rookie anymore. Like, he's been through, this is his second NFL season. He played half of the season last season. Like, it's not like, I don't know, man. Look, I'm not like a genius X's and O's guys like Tyler or James Foster or, Teron Davenport or some of these other guys out there. I don't ever claim to be, but I do have eyeballs and I can see. And I feel like that he just don't have it, man. He just don't have it. And that's what I was seeing then too. I'm like, okay, good. Like he's improving, but I feel like that's the best he's going to be honest. Like that's what we're going to get. It's going to be one game really good, one game really bad. One game half decent, one game bad. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, when he had that stretch of good games, I was vocal every week that if he can keep playing like he did against Houston, like he did against Minnesota, if he can keep playing like that, then you probably feel good about going with him next year and just fixing some other stuff. But then he reverted back to where he was at the start. I mean, on Sunday against Cincinnati, just awful interceptions. Just what are you thinking kind of interceptions. And so, I mean, do you think among the fan base, and this is not just the Titans fan base, this is any fan base, you're so desperate to have that guy. You're so desperate to have Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. You're desperate to have your version of that guy. Do you think that's why it's been so hard for fans to let this go, just like it was with Marcus, where it's just like, we just want it so bad. We wanted him to be it so bad that now there's almost a kind of mourning going on as people realize we got duped.
Yeah. And before I go on that point, I do want to shout out Bruce and Paul in the chat. And Paul Wilson, he watches the AFC South Roundtable, and I'm on there a lot. So thank you for coming over here and contributing to our guys' show here. We appreciate it. But
yes,
no, man. Yeah, to that point, I do, man. I feel like, yeah, I mean, we've made so many mistakes at this position.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back to Jake Locker, or you go back to who is the guy that Wisenhunt? I think it was Wisenhunt.
Mettenberger.
Yeah. Yeah, he and Corey Curtis has been on our show quite a few times, and he's brought this up, that he was talking, this was kind of behind the scenes. He was talking to Wisenhunt at one time, just kind of, him and Wisenhunt together. And Wisenhunt said, man, this guy's going to be the future of the NFL. He was talking about Mettenberger.
Oh.
And so, like, that's the history of the quarterback situation in Tennessee. Like, Mariota, up and down. Like, it's just been, it's been such a dismal ride when it comes to some of these guys. We had a reprieve with Tannehill for a couple seasons.
Yeah.
Which was great. Like, he was great during those couple seasons. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I'm just kind of like, I'm over it, but at the same time, it's purgatory. We're in purgatory.
Well,
we're in QB purgatory.
That leads me to my next question. I'm not crazy about anybody coming up in this draft. I've said that time and time again. I could be talked into Shedeur Sanders, but I don't even think we're going to have a shot at him anyway, because I don't think we're going to get up to number 1 or 2. So let me ask you this. I know we're early. We got plenty of time to talk about this, but is there any option at quarterback that you're seeing for next year that really gets you excited, that makes you say, oh man, if we could get him, if we could go sign him, then maybe?
There's, with Shedeur, like, and our guy, MJ from Sports Fan Entertainment, he loves Shedeur. I mean, he has been on a campaign on X to get Titans fans on the Shedeur train. And I see a lot of things in Shedeur where I'm like, yeah, man, like I think he could fit well in Callahan's style. I think he could. The question is, we're not going to be able to draft him. That's the thing. Like, let's live in reality here, and we're not going to be able to draft him unless we just somehow fall to like the top 3 picks. Mm-hmm. And even at 3, we're probably not going to be able to draft him. So as far as the other quarterbacks, the only other quarterback out there is Cam Ward, where I've sat and watched some of his plays that I'm like, wow, like, dude could be really good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not to the level of like, oh man, he could be our next franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, that's the issue. That's the issue here.
Are you intrigued at all by guys like Sam Darnold or Aaron Rodgers or Justin Fields and some of these other guys that me and Tyler Rowland last week, we talked about these guys and we laughed and we're like, oh yeah, why would we do that? Well, now we got to do something. So what do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't say intrigued is really the word, but I would say that, like, if you're looking at, we brought up the bridge quarterback and all that type of stuff. To me, if you're gonna, to build that bridge and not have it come crashing down, I guess, yeah, maybe you could go for Darnold, or you could go for and pick up a Justin Fields or something like that. But at the same time, like if you're looking to get one of those QBs in the next draft, you're going to have to tank again.
Yeah.
And who better to tank with than Will Levis?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I've seen so many people.
You know what I mean? Like,
I've seen so many people say, "Well, we need to go get Jameis Winston." I'm like, first of all, have you watched Jameis? It's like he got benched this week too. Second of all,
that gives me heartburn just thinking about Jameis Winston.
Yeah, and I'm like, if you get Jameis Winston, you may as well just keep Will. You know, and I feel the same way about Justin Fields. Like, I know Justin Fields is younger, so you could argue that maybe, but like, I still think if you're going to go that route, you may as well keep Will. You know, there are some guys you could get that would be an improvement. And that, honestly, again, takes me to my next question, transitioning to talking about Brian Callahan. I mean, how would you assess this guy's performance in year one as a head coach?
I'm not happy with it. Like, I mean, it's hard to, I try to not go too hard on the guy. Like, you know, some people out there do. Because look, it's his first year, first time ever being a head coach. And Mark from our network, the founder of our network, Mark Titan Upload, you know, he's been pretty hard on him. And Mark's theory is like, why does he deserve another year? Why do all these people say he deserves another year? You know, and I've tried to bring up my points about it. It's like, you know, I just feel like it's going to put even more years if we just go ahead and fire this guy, unless you got somebody that's like, you know, Bill Cowher's coming out of retirement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it would have to be somebody monumental that the Titans could just all of a sudden get. That all of a sudden this Titans organization is going to be this attractive organization for some legendary football coach. No,
right.
I mean, I think you got to give Callahan another year. As to hit this year, I feel like he's made a ton of mistakes. Honestly, I feel like this week was a mistake. Mm-hmm. You know, look, like I get it. We were probably going to bring this up. But the whole cussing and ranting and raving on the press conference, I get it. Look, man, I get it. Like,
I like to see the fire. I mean, I do like to see the fire.
I love the fire. And don't get me wrong, and fans will probably get upset with me. Don't get me wrong. I love the fire. I love standing up for your guys and your team. There's a level though. Like, I mean, I get like the cussing and stuff. Look, I'm not a goody two shoes. Look, I've definitely had my past, believe me. And I got cuss words that slip out every now and then, especially during Titans games. But I mean, to get up there like and sit there and just effers this and that and blah blah blah. Like, I get it. Okay, tough guy, moxie, showing, don't call my team soft. I just felt like there was a way to go about it where you didn't kind of have to like show that much like extreme type of reaction, but still get the point across. And I'm not hating on the guy for that. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have done that at all. All I'm saying is I think that there's things that he's going to learn where he has to show more tact. Like, he has to be more of a head coach and not a guy that looks desperate.
Yeah.
And that has to do with a lot of different scenarios.
Do you think there is any chance, and this answer for me has changed just in the last week, do you think there's any chance that he could be a one and done coach and could be fired at the end of the season? Do you think that is on the table?
There's a possibility. I just don't see why Amy would do it. I really don't. Like, just for the pure fact, I could see Rand going. I don't know. See, that's it's so hard to see. Like, I could almost see Rand going, but Rand has done okay. Now, Rand did okay in the draft, you couldn't say that as far as Levis, but we don't even really know who
Yeah,
picked
but
Levis. So
I
I don't
personally,
know.
I don't think Rand's done a bad job. I think, the best way
Yeah,
I could say it is everything he did in the offseason, we all cheered for. We wanted him to do it.
that's right.
And
Yeah,
so I think, for me, I think Callahan and Rand Carthon, the task they're going to have, and we're going to talk about this a lot over the next however many months, they've got to go out
right.
and get a quarterback in particular this offseason that can come in and win some games if they're back next season, because
Yeah,
you've got to be better or you're getting fired. Like if you're either
right.
if you don't, even if you're not a playoff team next year, you've got to at least be 7-8 wins. You've got to be better than whatever you are right now. And so
Yeah,
that's why I think Callahan's going with Rudolph these last 3 weeks, because while it may not
to
matter,
see.
to any of us, because we want him to tank it anyway, I think for Callahan, these last 2 weeks have been worst case scenario for him. I mean, these last two in
Yeah,
particular to me have been horrible. And so I think for me, a week ago, I would have probably said, nah, he'll be back. But if they if they go get destroyed by Indianapolis, if they get destroyed by Jacksonville, if they get destroyed by Houston in the Oiler throwbacks, week
yeah.
18, I mean, this stuff matters to him and Amy, because I don't know, these last 2 weeks have been bad.
I think the one thing that could save his job is, the last week of the season, Houston is probably going to be locked in on the number 4 spot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're going to move up. If you look at the way the AFC South is shaping up, I went and looked at all the schedule for all teams in the AFC moving forward over the next 3 or 4. There's some really tough games. There's some easy games for some teams that are on top too.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Texans are going to move. I
I
think
don't
they're
either.
staying at 4.
Yeah.
And I think they're, now I could see them not resting their starters just for the pure fact they don't get swept by the Titans. But if they're smart, they probably do rest their starters. And if the Titans can somehow sweep the Texans, which would be phenomenal,
Yeah.
that would be like our only saving grace in the season.
Right.
We swept the Texans. We could say it all off season. We could just rub it in the Texans fans' faces, and it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think that's would be like the saving grace to his job. But yeah, if he goes out there and gets slaughtered the next 3 weeks, I mean,
Yeah.
I could see it happening, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, Amy has fired coaches for way less.
Oh yeah, I agree.
She's fired playoff coaches.
Yes. And I think for Brian Callahan, if you can get a win, and I know we would hate this as fans because we're looking at that draft order. There's a lot of bad teams try to get up there, but if you can win a couple games with Mason Rudolph, then what that does for him and Rand is it gives them a scapegoat. They can look at Will and say, see, if we could just get him out of there and get a competent quarterback who can be halfway decent, look at there, we can win. We can beat Jacksonville. We can beat Indianapolis. So I know these last few weeks feel kind of pointless to us as fans, but for Brian Callahan, these last few weeks are pretty important. I want to do this little exercise because I know you've got another interview to do tonight, but I did this little exercise with Tyler last week. I want to do it with you. I'm going to give you some names of some guys who are currently on the team, and you can either answer yes, no, or if you want to elaborate on some of these. Do you want this guy back on the roster next year? These are guys that are already here that we're asking, do you want him back on the roster next year? And we'll start on offense with NWI.
Sure.
I'm right. I'm there too. He doesn't need to be
not
two.
a number 2, but yes.
But
he's
isn't it funny?
it.
Isn't it funny? We always say that, and he always ends up somehow, some way.
And he does. Yeah, he does better than expected, and
Yeah, but I would like to see him on the team.
Yeah.
Interesting one. Tyler Boyd, his deal's up at the end of the year. I mean,
I think at a very low price.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't think I just don't. I mean, he's made a couple plays, but I just don't see much to him anymore. Like he just hasn't showed a lot. But I mean, it would be a good veteran presence to have in a depth piece if you're, if you can get him for like a, pretty good price.
Traylon Burks.
No, absolutely not.
I had a feeling that
Then I'm
was.
packing.
I added this name in just for you, Mason Kinsey.
100% give him a $100 million trade his contract with Calvin Ridley.
Hey, he's clear. You know what? He's cleared the very low bar that we have for punt returners. He has not fumbled. There have been no disasters since he got in there. So
bring him back, man. Why not? You know what I mean? The guy has done so much for them behind the scenes, in practices and all that, and playing as safety, playing as this and that, of other teams, and he answers the call every time they need him. So why not bring a guy like that back?
What about Dylan Radins?
I feel like there's going to be a team out there that is going to offer him something he's not worth. Like, I feel like it's going to be like one of those Nate Davis scenarios in Chicago.
Which, speaking of him, he's back in the building.
And, in Chicago, I read an article this morning, actually, because I went on a Bears podcast this morning because they were drilling me about Mike Vrabel.
Boy.
Yeah, because, they want Vrabel up there. And I looked up this article about Davis, and they said they couldn't stand him in the locker room. The guy was a cancer.
Wow.
Like, it was always something. He was the always something guy. So, I could see Radins getting an offer somewhere and him taking it. But, I mean, look, Radins hasn't played awful. I think if you bring him back for a decent price, and I don't know if he should be a starter, but yeah, if you can bring him back at a decent price, if you're depending on what else you do at that position.
What about let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Harold Landry. This is a tough one.
I don't at a very reasonable price. Like, I'm letting Landry walk just because I don't know. I haven't seen much out of him this half of the season. Like, he's done nothing. Like, has he been hurt?
I don't think so. He hasn't been on the injury report.
Notice some. I mean, Landry's kind of like I don't know. He's kind of like a one-trick pony type of guy, and I just feel like that. I don't know. I don't think they should keep him. Not for the money he's going to want, and not that I hate Landry or anything, or I like Landry. I just feel like, if I was him, I would move on and take a contract, take what I could get somewhere else.
Amani Hooker.
Yes,
I agree. Arden Key
as a depth piece.
Yes. Ryan Stonehouse. Some people have been complaining about him, but
yeah, I would bring him back.
On this special teams unit, he's about the least of my. He's about the least of my.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming back from that injury. Like, give him some more time.
And last but not least, I'm going to include Will Levis's name. You personally, are you where you just don't even want this guy on the team? Do you want to trade him, see what you can get? Do you want to maybe go sign a veteran and then let Will back him up? Or are you just kind of done?
I don't know, dude. I mean, that's a very good question. I mean, I honestly, I'd like to keep him as a backup, to be honest, because of his cap number is great. So, if you go sign a backup veteran, it might even be more than Levis. I don't know. So, I think if you keep him as a backup and still try to develop him, if you're gonna go with a different starter next season, I don't know. I would keep him as a backup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of there. I mean, it depends. If you can get something good for him in a trade, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
that's
if
a
you could trade
no-brainer.
something, yeah.
Yeah,
If you could trade something good for him, like even like a fourth round pick, like
yeah.
I think you'd have to take that.
Last question before we let you go. These last 3 games, we've been eliminated mathematically for 2 weeks. So a lot of fans are just kind of, especially with
Checked out.
no Levis. I mean, that was kind of the main thing people were watching to see how he would play. Now we don't even have that. So is there any players in particular, or are there any players in particular that you've got your eye on over these last 3 games that you're interested in watching? Are you just kind of on autopilot watching the Titans at this point? Or
No, man, most definitely, dude. Latham is the guy that I
yeah,
want to see really have a good last few games because
yeah,
he's kind of slipped up a little bit. Which I think Latham still has an opportunity to be a franchise tackle, whether that's left or right tackle. And there's guys I would like to see Ridley step it up with
yeah.
Rudolph. Ridley's kind of annoyed me this season.
Mm,
Like he's had like 10 drops. They're running out of bounds, which was Levis's fault too. But like,
yeah, but that can't
I just,
happen.
there, yeah, I just, that's why it's like you kind of, when the word soft comes up or lack of effort, I mean, I get what Callahan's saying, but you got to understand where the fans are coming from too when they see stuff like that. So
Yeah,
you can't get that mad about it. I mean, maybe answer the question and own up to that. I mean, Ridley seemed to own up to it at the time, which is obviously it's not Callahan's fault he did that, but I don't know, man. That's a whole nother thing. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's some guys, Latham. I would like to see Cedric Gray get out there and play
I've
some
been
ball.
saying it for weeks.
You know,
Yeah.
Jalen Harrell, some of these guys that were draft picks. I'd like to see Brownlee keep playing well. I'd like to see who else we got out there
Well,
that's
I was going to add in because he had a good game last week. Tajay Spears is one guy that
Spears.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot to still watch if you're looking for the future. I think there's, hang on in there, Titans fans. Like, let's keep watching them. Let's keep
Oh yeah.
supporting them as much as we can. I mean, I'm not going to spend a bunch of money to go to the games. I'm not going to support them that way. Don't get me wrong.
Well,
But
me and you were at the same game earlier this season.
we
That
were, yeah,
one of the many great performances this year against the Jets, week 2.
right.
A loss that
So,
looks even worse in hindsight when you realize how bad the Jets are.
oh man. So yeah, I mean, like I'm not gonna overextend myself to go pay $30 for parking and to do
Oh,
this. And I mean, somebody offers me a free ticket, whatever. But yeah, I'm just yeah, I think there's some things to look out for. And I like to support the guys.
oh
Like, come
yeah.
on, like I'm just such a diehard fan. I can't
That's
not
me.
watch,
That's me. Yeah.
so but I get the people who are not wanting to watch. I understand
Yeah.
it.
I think the main thing I'll be looking for this last 3 weeks is to see how the team plays for Brian Callahan. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big thing too. But I appreciate Titans Rossi taking the time
Yes, sir.
to come hang out with us tonight on the Two Tone Talk podcast. I'll still be back tomorrow with my regular Friday episode at 1 Eastern, noon Central, so you can come and be a part of that. And I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Go check out Titans Rossi and the Titan Upload Network for these last 3 weeks as we grit our teeth and look to the future. I appreciate you coming on tonight, man. I hope you have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you too, brother. Merry Christmas to everyone.